God,
grant me the serenity
to accept the things I cannot change,
the courage to change the things I can,
and the wisdom to know the difference.
In this edition of Overcoming Addiction, we will focus on young people in recovery. Tonight's guests are Tim Gerancher and Sarah Clewer. Together, we can make a difference. Here's your host, Paul Hammersley.
Welcome to another edition of Overcoming Addiction. I'm Paul Hammersley, president of Malden Overcoming Addiction. And first off, we want to welcome everybody and wish everybody a happy new year. And we hope 2017 brings everything that we know you want and deserve. And this month we decided to focus on young people in recovery. And with me is Tim Gerancher and Sarah Clewer. And I just want to say hi. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hey.
So, you know, at Malden Overcoming Addiction, we run the show, and we just want to talk a little bit. We want to open the new year with something positive in being in recovery. And I want to talk to a couple of young people and just find out about how you do it. You know, how'd you get here? What do you do to stay here? And so, Tim, I'll start with you. What brought you to recovery?
So, Paul, just want to say thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
And I would say, you know, a lot of people in my circle also say this, but pain brought me into recovery. I went through physical pain, the physical pain of withdrawal, the physical pain of self-harm. Also, the emotional pain was mostly what brought me into recovery. I grew up in like a very nice household, had like the loving family and everything, and I just never really felt a part of anything, and drugs was a way to escape that, and you know, eventually it stopped working and healing my, you know, suppressing my feelings.
And how old were you, Tim, like when this stuff started happening?
Yeah, I was about 14 when I picked up my first drug, and just that emotional pain, though, is what brought me into recovery.
And you found your way right into recovery. And where are you at today, if you don't mind me asking, like with your time-wise? How long have you been in recovery?
No problem. So I've been in and out of recovery. I relapsed. Relapse is a huge part of my story.
Okay.
Multiple times. But so far, I've had 4 months clean.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah. Tomorrow I'll have 4 months clean.
Congratulations, Tim.
Thank you.
We're going to get into a lot more of your story. And Sarah, same question for you. Like, what brought you into recovery?
I feel like I was just like looking for something. The drugs and like drinking like just wasn't enough. Like it wasn't cutting it. And like I've been trying to get clean for like the last 3 years of my life, and I just decided, like I heard that like there was a better way of life, and I decided to give it a try, and like I got plugged in, and I started hanging out with people who like had what I wanted.
So you heard there was a better way of life. Like, how old were you when you started using?
I think I picked up my first drink at like 12, I think.
Okay.
And I like was always like running from something, and like I'm still like trying to figure out what that is.
And was there any sort of introduction to any type of program or any clean time up to this point?
Yeah, I've been like in and out of the program for like the last 3 years.
So
like,
it came a point in your using that you realized that it wasn't working, and recovery sort of maybe wasn't, you didn't, you know, fall right into recovery, but, you know, someone introduced it to you because of, again, like Tim said, you might have been going through some pain and looking for another way.
Yes.
And so you found that way, and
Yeah.
now, and where do you sit now? Where's your recovery?
I have a little over 10 months clean right now.
Over 10 months, you said?
Yep.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That is awesome.
I'll have 11 on the 1st.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I've never had this much clean time in my life, and I just like stay like honest and like vigilant.
And And how are you guys doing it? Like, is there meetings? Is it by osmosis? Like, what do you guys do? I mean, is there sponsorship? Like,
Well, for me, it's like a puzzle. I feel like there's so many different parts to like staying clean. There's like meetings, there's sponsorship, there's fellowshipping, there's just like all things like having a relationship with your higher power and step work. Like it's all very important. You just can't have one. You have to have it all.
Tim?
I feel like it's important to kind of bring it back to like where I started out at, which has a lot to do with where I'm at today, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I was an adolescent, still pretty young, but when I was in my teens, I was placed in a treatment center for adolescents. And part of that program, I didn't really get too much out of it. I felt like I was going to just appease my parents and get in that light. I was introduced to a 12-step program in there, and that's where I was exposed to my first meetings. And ever since that first meeting, I had, that thought in the back of my mind of something else is out there, and what I'm doing right now isn't helping me get to the point where I want to be. So my journey took me in and out of treatment centers.
So that's going to go into my second question. I'm going to lead. No, right. So your path. What was your path to get here? Was it treatment? Was it outpatient meetings? Did you just stop? So now you're going right into. You started with treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Continue.
So definitely, the time started out fun. It definitely seemed like some innocent teenage shenanigans. I would have parties. I would be the one supplying items. And it turned out, I got in trouble with my parents. I couldn't stay clean no matter how much punishment they put on me. So they sent me into a treatment center where I was introduced to the 12-step program. However, I was in that center for about 30 days. When I got out, I stayed clean for a while, just by staying abstinent mostly. But eventually I did relapse, and it kind of was a continuous cycle from there. It kept repeating of going into a treatment center, coming out, staying clean for a while, messing everything up.
So sort of the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yeah, definitely.
Sarah, did you Did you have to do any treatment? Like, what was your path?
Yeah, so I started off like with an outpatient.
Okay.
And from there, like I just wasn't done, and like my disease progressed, so which required like more.
So when you say outpatient, just so people understand, is that something you do while you're at home, living at home, and you're like going on a daily, maybe to visit a doctor, and you're talking with somebody?
Well, I went to like an outpatient program,
Okay.
and like so like it was like 3 days a week for like a couple hours a day, and that's where I started, and I ended up like going to several detoxes. Sometimes twice a month I was going to detox, and then like I like started doing like aftercare and like going to halfway houses and going to I ended up in like Florida. Like I did everything that like I could to stay clean.
So treatment works. That's what worked for you.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Well, eventually, yeah.
Right,
So
right.
It worked like when I wanted it to work.
I guess the point I'm getting at is for both of you, without treatment, do you think you might have been able to do this on your own?
I don't think so, because it gave me like the tools to know like what to do.
So
It's
treatment's very important.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, that's, and I feel the same way. That was my path as well. Treatment is what worked for me. And how is your life today? Sarah, I'll start with you first. How is your life today compared to how it was when you were actively using? Like, if you could put a comparison on it, like if you think back to what you were doing and think, you said 10 months ago. So 10 months ago to where you were laying your head down at night and how you felt to today.
Well, today, like, my life is great. I'm able to like pay my own rent. Like, I'm able to, like, I have a car. Like I have the keys to my parents' house. And like just like little things like that like just mean so much to me, because trust is so important, and like I'm trusted like with my parents' home, and like I'm accountable and like I'm reliable today.
I remember that feeling when I got my license back. You mentioned you having your own car, and I had my, you know, all the paperwork was in my name. You know, I couldn't, I've never had a car legally with insurance, and that's a pretty good feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
And I'm going to ask you another main question. How is it waking up?
Waking up is
Not
like,
being sick.
it's like so amazing. It really is. Like I kind of wake up every morning, like I'm able to like have a coffee and like ease into my morning.
And go about your day.
Yeah, and rather than like scrambling around, like seeing who's going to answer the phone, like trying to find money, like doing something, like I wake up in like my own bed. I'm not like waking up in like a trailer or like outside or anything, or at the airport. Like I wake up in my own bed.
It's
like,
a lot of work using, isn't it?
yeah, it's so tiring. Like I'm just so grateful to be like where I am today.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're here as well.
Thank you.
And Timmy, the same question, like if you were to compare your life today to what it was like, and again, 4 months, was it 5 months tomorrow or 4?
4.
4 months tomorrow. So 4 months ago, like, can you see the difference? Like, compare it where we sit right now to where you were.
It's huge. I honestly didn't think I would be alive here today. I felt like I would just break down and become a shell, and just like my life was over. But today, like, I have a job and I'm working. I have friends who are staying clean, and you know, like, that's a big part of me staying clean right now, is just having people who are doing the same things as I am. Other than that, I have a wonderful girlfriend in my life who supports my recovery and understands completely 100% that I need to take time out for myself. And the flip side of being joyful and grateful of having all these things in my life, I still am struggling a little bit emotionally, and
Right.
part of that is just having a bad perspective sometimes. And I notice now that I can make a day bad. It's not necessarily a bad day. But definitely being clean now is better than any day that I was using.
Isn't that an amazing feeling?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is absolutely wonderful. And Tim, we'll start off with you again. So tell me some of the things you're doing today. Now, such as, this is kind of a broad question, such as work, friends, family, accomplishments. So in other words, were things well and good with you when you were using, and friends, and like, was your work life good? So, you know, it all goes into a lot of the stuff that we just talked about, but what was all that stuff like? And I want to know, in the 4 months, some accomplishments, because I know that, you know, you've had a few accomplishments and some things that you're doing. Please tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, most definitely. So, in active addiction, there was no trust. I will bring it back to the trust, like Sarah said. Like, my family did not trust me. I didn't have any real friends. The friends who I was hanging with just wanted something from me, whether it would be drugs or money or a ride. Wow, it's just like thinking brings a lot back.
That's okay.
And,
take your time.
wow. I was always a functional addict, I would like to call myself. Like, I always kept a job part-time. I always went to college. I got through school and earned a degree, all while using. I didn't retain everything that I wanted to retain, or attain every goal that I didn't even like have goals back then, really. I was kind of just doing things and going with the flow of it. And I mean, being clean gave me a sense of motivation, a sense of purpose to like wake up and what I'm doing is important. So like a big part of that for me today is learning from people that like this human experience is something that's important to me, and like reaching out and talking to another human being. Yeah, but some things that I'm doing today, just real quickly. I'm hanging out with friends who are clean. I have a sponsor. I get to meetings. I'm lacking in meeting attendance lately. And yeah, that's about it right now. I
So
read as
accomplishments,
well.
Tim.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, didn't you just took a test
Yeah, that's
for,
right.
for a job? Like,
Yeah.
Like a big test. Like these are things that's very important, and you should be very proud of yourself. So real quick, if you could just explain the field you might be in and the opportunity that you just had, even not knowing how you did, but you just went through something
Yeah.
clean, and you know this could be something very life changing for you.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So I went to school. I studied accounting. I graduated with my bachelor's degree and ended up getting a job in the field. I've recently, for the past few months, I've been studying for my CPA exam, my Certified Public Accountant
Amazing.
exam. And I got through 2 of the tests, and I'm waiting on the scores right now.
Accomplishments. We do recover, don't we?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Congratulations. I just I knew that you went through that, and I wanted you to talk about that because that's amazing.
Yeah.
And Sarah, like, right to you, like what are you doing today compared to maybe before? Like, we talked about friends, family, job, like anything you got going on, accomplishments, personal goals, like.
Well, today, like, I work,
Nice.
like, I work in the restaurant business, and I'm able to, like, hold a job today, which is, like, great because, like, I was never able to keep a job for, like, longer than a month before.
Because that's what using does.
Yeah. So, like, it's really great feeling, like, I'm trusted at work, and, it's, like, a great feeling, and, like, I have, like, my friends back in my life, like, from, like, before, and, like, they wanted nothing to do with me before, and, like,
Because of the way you were living.
yeah, because the way I'm living, and, like, they weren't doing the things that I was doing, and, like, today, like, they love having me around, and, like, it's just, like, it's so great.
It's a great feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, accomplishments. I mean, you talked about it. You have a car.
Yeah.
You have a job. Now, these are things 10 months ago.
No way.
And what was getting in your way all the time? Like, just what was in your way all the time? It's one common thing, right?
Yeah.
It was just using.
Yeah, it was using, and like it was like, it's kind of like I think of it as like just like a cycle. Like, I couldn't have anything because like I was using, and like I was using because I couldn't have anything, and like I needed like to change something in my life like drastically to like get what I want in life. And like,
It's amazing.
yeah, like I'm trying to go back to school. Like, I want to be a pediatric nurse.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that, and I just like, I want things for myself today, like where as before, like I just like, I didn't care. Like, I didn't care if like I died. Like, I didn't care. Like, I was so hopeless, and I was like so like, I just felt like there was no hope for me. Like, I was destined to be hanging out down Mass Ave, hanging out.
And these were your feelings.
Yeah.
This is what, like,
This is
settling
how
for
I
less.
felt, yeah.
Settling for less, that's right.
Absolutely. And like, I just got like hooked up with like the right people, and like people that believed in me. And
When you couldn't believe in yourself.
Yeah. And like, it took a lot of work.
Recovery's work.
It's so hard.
And this is what we have to talk about too. Like, again, it's just like, I hate to say the words, but it's like using, like, if you want something, you have to go get it and earn it. This doesn't just happen. You have to put some work in, whether it's outside meetings, whether you mentioned calling a sponsor, whether you mentioned step work. Like, there's some work that has to be done, but the payoff at the end is amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
You know, and that's in my own personal recovery, things that I would feel, you know, like, because it was a lot of work to use, you know, and was every day sort of like Groundhog Day?
Yeah, it was.
It's the same thing every day. You wake up, your mind just goes exactly to what you need to do for that day, and then you end up passing out.
Yeah.
Is that the stuff that might have been going on? And then and now today, it's amazing the things that we can do today and accomplish.
Yeah. We can do whatever we want.
And so what are some of your goals? Here's like kind of a crazy question, if you can even answer it. Where do you see yourself in a year? Like, try to think, like, where do you see yourself a year from today, Tim? Or where would you hope to be a year from today?
Wow. That's a tough question, but it'll just come out. Something.
I mean, maybe continue
Yeah.
working, clean. I mean, do you have like just something?
Yeah, I definitely want to continue to be clean, and I want to be able to make a difference in someone's life that's close to me. Mainly, yeah. Do you want to take this one?
Like in a year, I see myself, I don't know, back in school.
Wow, see, that's
Like
awesome.
Yeah, like I see myself back in school. Like I want to have like my own place. Like I want to just like I want my own dog. Like I just want like little
You're setting
things.
goals right now.
Yeah.
See, that's amazing.
Yeah, I just like little things that like I just want.
School, an apartment, a dog.
Yeah,
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
From what we used to want.
yeah.
That's
It's so
like
crazy.
so awesome to hear
Yeah.
that. I'm going to ask you now. That was a tough question, but I'm going to go in. This one's this one's tough to. And I know we're focusing on recovery. So real quick, if you can just tell me, like, what's the most difficult part being young in recovery? And I mean, such as like maybe getting through. In your case, you're almost there. Tim, you're not there. But Tim, tell me what's like. How is it difficult for you being a young person in recovery?
I feel like what's most difficult is just what's going on in society, like in general, how things are really portrayed as life is a party, and like that party needs alcohol and it needs drugs, and just the level of acceptability around that is huge. So there's also like a big stigma, it seems, around marijuana. And, marijuana is a drug. Marijuana was a huge part of what made my life unmanageable. And I won't go into like the political side of anything, but definitely just the level of acceptance of even lesser drugs, I think, is the hardest part sometimes of being clean. That fear of being judged if you're not
That's
picking up
one.
a drink
The
or
stigma.
a drug. Yeah.
From your peers, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Because you think of, at least I was kind of raised with that notion of an addict is someone who puts a needle in their arm.
Right.
And that's not what an addict is.
It's
It's
so
not
not
the
true.
picture of an addict. It's not discriminatory. Anyone can be an addict. If you can admit to it, you're an addict.
If there's something in your life if there's a substance that's making your life unmanageable, but basically you're leaning towards stigma. Being young is,
Yeah.
you're feeling like it's kind of hard to your peers.
Yeah.
Sarah?
Um,
So the question was like, what's the most difficult part for you being a young person in recovery?
I think the most difficult part for me is like not being able to like have a drink. Like, not that like I want a drink, but like a lot of like my close friends from like high school like aren't in recovery, and like my family isn't in recovery. So like around like the holidays and stuff, like it's like super hard.
So that leads me into
Yeah.
where I was going to go, because you're at the 10-month,
Yeah.
and I like to call it the cycle if we make the year, and that's summer, spring, winter, fall. So to get through New Year's Eve, your birthday, the night before Thanksgiving, because all your old friends, or they might be able to drink and you can't, so that's sort of a struggle.
Yeah.
But you can get through
You
it.
can get through it. You definitely can get through it. And like for me, like I just like kind of play the tape through. Like I like think about like the first, and then then I think about like the morning after, and like where it always leads me, and it's like never worth it for me. And so like I usually just like take a step back, and like I have no problem like going home and like sitting with myself, because like I can do that today. And if like I'm uncomfortable in like situations, like I pick up the phone and like I call people, and like I let other people know like where I'm at, like when I'm struggling, like during the holidays, like New Year's Eve, like I was home on the couch with my dog.
You should have came to celebrate sober with Malden Overcoming Addiction.
And I was just home by myself at my parents' house with my dog.
But you got through it.
And I got through it, and it was
you got through
great,
it
and I
clean.
was like happy, and like I don't regret a second of it.
So we have just about a minute left, so I want to take 30 seconds or so on each person. What would you tell another young person that might be using, that if they're thinking about the decision to go into recovery? Real quick, Tim, what would you have to say to another young person? Would you tell them that just to come in and it's worth it?
Yeah, I would definitely say don't be afraid to be loved and love. Just if you think you have a problem, reach out, talk to someone you feel safe talking to, and that person would most likely, if they care about you, they can get you help. And there's also a lot of other resources that I'm sure you can dish out that will help them as well.
Sarah, what would you tell a young person that might be struggling, thinking about making to come into recovery?
I would just tell them, don't give up and just keep coming. Just keep coming, because you'll find your place sooner or later.
And the bottom line
is
this works, right?
Yeah, it does work.
And that's what we're doing here. Like, it's young people in recovery, and we can recover.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to, on that note, with all the resources we just talked about, if you're struggling and you need help, please, you can reach out to Malden Overcoming Addiction at the website, MaldenOvercomingAddiction.com. We're on Facebook at Malden Overcoming Addiction on Facebook. We are on Twitter at Malden Overcomes. The cell phone number for Malden Overcoming Addiction, if you want to reach out, is 781-838-2203. And once again, if you need help and you're struggling for any reason at all, please contact Malden Overcoming Addiction, and we will get you the place you need to be. We'll see you next month. Thank you.